Good evening from Swansea, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are watching Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, your one-stop shop for professional wrestling, insight, news, and reviews on a daily basis. And today, it's Wednesday, and you know what that means. It means you've got an AEW Dynamite episode to preview later on in the show. But before we do, we got a little bit of news to get into. And we're going to discuss whether or not AEW should run smaller arenas like NXT are doing and are having great success doing right now. We're going to get into all of that and more. But before we do, I need to introduce the panel. And let's kick things off with Sol. How are you today, Sol?
Howdy, brother. Very well, as always. Good to be on the topics today as well. For myself, things are going very well. Released 150th episode of the Soul Sessions, which is actually a two-part and over 2 hour, near enough 2 hour interview with Ian Skinner, one of Joe Hendry's pupils. Lovely guy, lovely chat,
nice.
Had great fun there. Oh, it was grand, honestly, my friend. Can't wait for that second part to go up there. It's going to be really great. Also, Soul Sessions Collection as well, the other series where I showcases gear from guests I've had on the platform. I've got 2 new sets of gear in the studio right now. Another one's on the way. Some really fun gear I think people are going to be really amazed by when I do showcase it.
Oh, that is going to be exciting to see, no doubt about it. We do have quite a few comments here. We got Bobby Petito saying, hello, guys, and happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday to you as well, Bobby. I hope you are having a great day. We have Faye58RJG over on Instagram saying, yes, AEW should run smaller venues. We'll get into that in just a moment. And Josh Markowitz is saying, AEW talk with Soul on the show. Perfect.
Oh, come on, Joshy boy. It's harmony. It's blissful harmony when this comes together. It's basically you get the nice cheesecake out, fine wine, the cheese board selection as well, and you sit down and you relax. You have fun. It pairs perfectly well. I mean, we've been doing this for a good amount of time as well. I mean, Allison, it's been a fun year. I mean, the year's only over as well for us. And then obviously, you know, what was it? Daily hit its 1 year anniversary last year, Christmas time, correct?
Yeah, so it'll be 2 years on December 24th.
See, look at us. We're still going as well. I mean, it's insane to think obviously yourself has accomplished so much with WR and everything that's been pumping out. The great content we've got here, obviously, with Off the Air doing so well. Spotlight having some great selection of wrestlers. Obviously, I know you and Megan interviewed Nina Samuels, which was a great episode people should check out. Wink, wink. But so many other stuff as well that's just going so well for WR. And it's great to see, obviously, man. I mean, that's just the thing with wrestling as well. When some say when the big companies succeed, others don't, and it's not that trickling effect. I think it kind of does. You do get interest from other people, but nonetheless, we've got some fun topics to talk about as well. I mean, if we should get into that right away, or we have a third man coming in, who is the third man? Will we be seeing that, or is there something else we should discuss to eat at time?
Well, firstly, I appreciate the kind words, Sol, and it's been a pleasure having you here during it as well. But we do have a third person today, and it is going to be from the Carty Vortex. Who from the Carty Vortex? We're going to have to wait and see. But unfortunately, the Carty Vortex is currently having some connection issues. So we are just going to have to jump right into the first topic first. We have Shard in the chat. Shout out to you, Shard. Josh has got his Philly cheesesteak, not cheese board. But same thing, let's talk wrestling. Let's absolutely just dive head first into the topic, shall we? Let's open it up by talking about the major success which NXT has had with the 2300 arena, right? They announced they were running it last week. They announced it just a few days before tickets went on sale. Tickets then went on sale and it sold out in minutes. Before Shawn Michaels could even put out a tweet announcing the ticket. He put out the tweet and the Instagram post, and all the comments were, Shawn, it's already sold out. And it had. But the big factor about this, right? It's not like NXT's gone to a smaller, venue and just sold out because of the size of it, which is a factor, of course. But they overpriced the tickets massively, right? It was like $350 for the cheapest ticket, pretty much there. It was insane. In the thousands, some of them were, right? And this is a really small venue, so it's going to be a massively profitable event for WWE, right? And it's gotten a lot of people talking. Should AEW run smaller arenas? Because if they did that, could they make near amount, the same, pretty much the same amount of money off it, and also have venues which are a lot cooler and more importantly are full? Because when you see a half full arena on TV, I've said it before and I'll say it again, it becomes a perception problem. People think, oh, you're not selling at half of your building. Well, it must mean it's a bad company. They're not doing good things right now. When in reality, there's a lot of other things to consider on top of that. Is nowhere near as simple as that. But if they ran a smaller arena or a smaller venue, maybe even a mall, right? For years, people have wanted a company to run a mall again, like WCW did back in the day. AEW, the first year especially, they did run a few cool venues. They ran a cruise ship, the Jericho Cruise, yet they've not done it again since. Certain things like that, where, okay, you might run into a couple of hiccups, but it looks cool, it will be memorable, and you'll sell it out. And I mean, listen, if the venue is getting people to tune in to just see what it looks like, that would be a plus in itself. Josh is saying run smaller venues so the demand grows over time and then transition to bigger stadiums. I hope that's what happens. And I'm not even saying, right, that every week AEW should run, small, tiny arenas or tiny venues. I'm just saying some weeks do that. And then other weeks run these arenas that they're currently running, right? If you're in a market where you think you can fill it or at least make it look full. But they go to some markets and they're selling 3,000 in a 20,000 seat arena. And that's not an exaggeration. It's happening pretty much weekly. So you're the big AEW guy here at Wrestling Republic. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Should AEW run smaller venues?
I mean, I necessarily wouldn't be against it. It wouldn't stop me watching AEW if they go to smaller arenas. I mean, remember, I think over the summer period, they were in Arlington, Texas for the Collision tapings that had Ring of Honor coinciding with it. And they pretty much sold out nearly every taping there. And it didn't hamper the product in my mind. I thought it was just as enjoyable. Even though it was an esports arena, it still had a cool look with that really amazing entrance ramp, which had like columns and everything. And they had memorable moments there as well. Obviously, Death Before Dishonor was there with Mark Briscoe against Roderick Strong. Hologram debuted in that Collision taping segments as well. So there were moments there. I don't think a Dynamite was there. I think it was pretty much just a Collision. The thing about EW that I think they might not want to do it is that they are perceived as the second largest wrestling promotion. There might be that sense of pride that they want to presume that, they're still able to do the big stuff and all. They want to look presentable. They want to live up to the name of the accolade as the second biggest wrestling promotion. And they may want to run the bigger arenas. Maybe it's logistical issues. Maybe it's they want to have the ability for their staffing and technical aspects. They need these bigger buildings for how many people they have. I don't know. I'm just hyperbolic and guessing there. Now, you mentioned obviously there with NXT running smaller arenas and selling out almost immediately. The thing is, though, like those ticket prices were quite high to my knowledge. And hey, fair point. If they're able to do that and sell that amount of money with the tickets and sell out, more power to them and congratulations for them on that. But then it shows that if a wrestling fan has maybe $500 for the week budget to spend for shows and something like NXT is $400 and they've only got 100 left, AEW should then have the ticket prices lower to capitalize on that. But if they don't, then that person's out of pocket and they can't go to it, plus traveling accommodation if needed be. I don't know if we ever see like a Raw or SmackDown do that kind of small arena base. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But then obviously Dynamite and Collision are considered their main shows, not on the same level as NXT production-wise and star-wise, so they wouldn't want to be associated with that lower not saying quality arena, but that lower standard of arena where it's not going to get the max amount and look and feel of it. Another thing as well, obviously, we have seen WWE shift when ticket sales haven't been as plentiful as they wanted, but the product has not suffered. What was it? The second NXT on CW changed arenas, which one had Randy Orton on it, and
yeah, it moved to a much smaller venue, which again, a lot of people said looked cooler because they sold it out rather than having it half full.
I mean, no one complained about it being moved. They still sold very well. It was a great atmosphere. And I think, I remember Shannon Clark on Off the Air said it was a great episode. They had no real complaints, obviously, minus a few things within matches. But atmosphere-wise, it was fine. I think as well that it's a main problem that there's with WWE being so hot that more people are probably going to be inclined to go for the hotter product. Now that could be means that AEW should counteract and counter program to go and claim some of that hotness that WWE has. I don't know if it's that easy. I think what it is as well is that people need to stay within what makes them unique, and they don't want to basically be WWE light or the lower grade product of something else that's doing something similar. I mean, obviously, we've seen TNA's done very well, and they're doing some of the best accounts of revenue-wise within the company's history as well. So it is possible. I think with AEW, it's a sense of pride and a sense of wanting to be known as the second, largest wrestling promotion. So if they start going down to small arenas, it'll probably take a hit of pride for the company. But I think maybe in the long run, it might beneficial-wise. I will say 100% in my mind, this will be a much-needed decision if All in Texas doesn't sell in well. If you have a stadium show size like that and it's only, a third full, then I think you need to reevaluate where your company's position is within the mindset of fans. And sadly, you will need to downgrade to the mindset that fans have of you in that current standpoint.
Yeah, I do agree with you. And I still do have some hope that they will do well with Texas, or at least, show it locked, on screen. Josh is saying, with smaller venues, they kind of did do it in Cardiff. That was a really small venue, and it was packed, and it sounded great, and it looked great. ECW, ECW in the Hammerstein Ballroom. So I think it means AEW in the Hammerstein Ballroom would be awesome. That would be. That Hammerstein Ballroom, that's another one you could do. There's so many cool arenas which are small. You could charge massive ticket prices. Sean Ellis is saying AEW should be sold to WWE. It's not happening. Yodon is saying AEW can't have big stadiums. Do the WCW route. Go to the second biggest stadiums in the city. Another thing is establish Dynamite. Make it your main show. I mean, I think they're doing both of those things.
Yeah, I think as well. I'm obviously, I ain't American. I don't know Americano, so I don't know my stadiums. But it's not there to go into something like AT&T or something like that.
It is technically the second smallest, yeah, even though it is also second biggest.
But isn't where Mania 41 that's happening next year a stadium that they haven't gone, like AEW hasn't gone to the Allegiant Stadium? No, they've gone to the one below that in Vegas for Double or Nothing. I'm correct, right? They went to a stadium.
No, they didn't.
Which one did AEW go for Double or Nothing last year in Vegas? It wasn't the MGM Grand, wasn't it? It was another kind of stadium.
Oh no, that was an arena, not a stadium.
No, I was a stadium. All right, that's fine.
This will be their first stadium show in Texas. That's outside of Wembley.
Wait, there's a fair point there as well. So it shows that, I think it really does show maybe the cap of American thoughts and interest within the product. Obviously, All In Stadium in Wembley done very well, and that's multiple factors. We do like AEW here as well, for a real big wrestling company for us as well in that caliber. Something in Wembley is obviously going to be cool. Obviously less return this year, but still a very high turnout. I think it's a good thing they're not doing a third year in a row. Let it cool down. But we're getting Forbidden Door. I mean, when we were there as well, we saw the reaction for it. People were
it was good. It's a great country to have it in.
Oh God, 100%. And I think obviously an arena would be the more suitable thing. I know people said the O2, but I think that's WWE country, and that's where WWE mostly run their things. I think it will be Wembley Arena, keep the relationship with Wembley. But obviously, are they not doing a stadium show for Australia as well with Grand Slam? Is that stadium?
Sorry, that will be a stadium, yes. Sorry, I just meant in the US it'll be their first one. But yeah, they're doing one in Australia too, which that's going to be fascinating too, because I don't like to underestimate them because they think they can do it. But the general media in Australia is questioning AEW.
It's tough.
But again, I know nothing about Australia. I just know what's being reported by their own media.
I mean, I remember when I was in North Carolina for Revolution this year, and I met an Australian laddie who had traveled all the way over to see for Sting's last match. I remember we were talking in a bar, and he was like, "Oh, Elimination Chamber was all right, not as good, but I'm very excited for when AEW come over." But I know something as well. I think where they've done it in Australia is very East Coast. It's kind of like it was not Brisbane, but it's somewhere that's not very easily accessible to. I think that's something as well. If I was to go, it would probably cost me $3,000 or $3,000 just to fly over because Australia is very far away, sadly. So
Yeah.
it's going to limit international fans coming in. I mean, immediately places I think on my mind for Australia is obviously you can hit Australia itself, New Zealand, Japan, maybe mid-European countries
Even
like Germany.
Japan's like hours away. Like that's not
It's,
actually close. It's just close considering nothing else is near there.
it's going to be insane as well. But I think stadium will be a very key point for AEW as well, because obviously, I don't know if the Tokyo Dome classifies as a stadium or if it's just an arena, but obviously they've got Wrestle Dynasty over there
stadium,
with New Japan, Stardom, Ring of Honor, and AEW are doing there. So they've got 3 high point countries they're hitting next year, I think, to genuinely gauge it. But I think, if anything, more international arena or smaller venue shows is a key thing they need. I think they need a good tour. Like, see what WWE has done this year. They've hit Elimination Chamber, they hit Scotland, they hit all these other places. Like, they could easily fill the Hydro in Glasgow. No doubt in my mind. I mean,
they can fill any arena in the UK, really, if it's for a pay-per-view.
I mean, I don't know why no one's done it, but why is nobody hitting Merrifield Stadium in Edinburgh? Like, it's a good arena. I know Oasis are playing there next year. It's very easy, accessible from the town. The airport is literally less than 20 minutes away from it. I think it would be a good venue to hit. I don't know why nobody's done it. Maybe it's obviously because we like to have the rain sometimes.
That'll be the answer. We've done that with Roof. But I do want to get in the person who's joined us before. I'm going to quickly read some of these comments. Bobby says it'd be nice if they go back to Cardiff. Sean Ellis says, how many seats are going to be empty? In Texas. We'll have to wait and see. I'm hopeful. Yoden says he lives in LA and the Forum in Inglewood you can go to. That's where we went to, wasn't it? So for the Ring of Honor show in LA.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, we've been there ourselves. But and Orange County as well. That's where we were with Clark. But shout out to all these places, which we can now talk about because we've now know what they are. But
we've actually brushed up on our stadium knowledge. Hey, is it Sunday Funday going to be on stadiums and arenas now, so we can actually brush up our knowledge more? I mean, if it is,
Clark's winning.
Oh
Clark's
God,
just
Mr.
destroying us all. But we are going to be opening now the Carty Vortex. He has arrived. The connection is here. How are you, Carter? And do you think AEW should run smaller venues?
Absolutely. By the way, OU, we're terrible at football. But so Ben, you went to USC, University of Southern California. That's where I went to school. I'm actually going to be there at the end of this call at 2:00. You went to their basketball stadium for Ring of Honor. So that gentleman was talking about the Forum where the Lakers used to play. I'd say American basketball stadiums 9 to 20. The Forum, the USC one, I forget that it's the Galen Center. Great. So I have a new LA stadium for you guys too. The Clippers just put in a new stadium over in Inglewood, and I'm going to be visiting it tonight. So that's another fantastic. So we have American football and then basketball stadiums, and I think AEW should be running purely out of basketball stadiums, like basketball, hockey. So the one in Vegas, T-Mobile Arena, that's a hockey stadium. It's very popular for boxing, MMA. WWE. Actually, I really like the casinos for WWE and AEW too, like MGM Grand in Vegas. It's a classic boxing stadium that's about 8,000, 9,000 seaters. So I'm in favor of smaller stadiums, less cost, more profit. I think that's all great. But no, I heard you guys talking about LA stadiums, and I was like, I got to fix this. So we went to the Galen Center, which is where USC plays basketball. Best women's basketball team in the country, by the way. And I think that's where AEW should be running shows, like 8,000, 9,000 seater. There's no reason to be pushing it to the 60,000 guys. Like, grow your product a little more and we'll get there. But, I think, a 60,000. That being said, though, they sold out Wembley. So who knows? Just keep swinging the bat, Tony.
Swinging and missing. No, hopefully you are right, Carter. Maybe it was the Forum we went to then for Raw, was it? So I swear we went to the Forum.
You went to Staples Center, which is now, we call it Staples.
How many are there?
Crypto.com. There's 2 basketball stadiums, West LA. There's 2 downtown LA. We got 2 There's also where UCLA plays up by Hollywood. So you have a choice of venues, and I mean the casinos in Vegas, like all these little shows, TNA can run all, the Palms, MGM. I mean Mandalay Bay. These are all old UFC venues that like AEW should be running shows out of.
You've just given me an idea, Carter. Why don't we just have AEW Dynamite permanently take place from a back of a pub in Scotland and just keep it there every week? There we are. That would sort out this attendance issue. Sean Ellis is saying, aloha, guys from Hawaii. Hello to you as well. But now let's move on to the next topic, shall we? Because, well, Bobby Lashley hasn't been too happy. We did a signing yesterday, and basically in it he said that he feels like WWE not bringing back the Final Testament when Triple H took over creative was a spit in the face to him. He believes that when Triple H took over, he should have reunited the Hurt Business, but said that he wasn't somebody who Triple H, he kept referring to him as the new regime, but you could tell who he was talking about, favored. But I mean, Soul, I want to ask you, do you think Triple H made a mistake, or do you think it was a spit in the face to Bobby Lashley that he decided to not bring back the Hurt Business? And I think I called them the Final Testament a minute ago. I meant that's the next segment. I meant the Hurt Business. Oh, gosh, it's not my day.
There it is, buddy. There it is. It's very interesting because when I started watching, obviously, Bobby Lashley was involved with the Lana and Rusev stuff, and it was bad. Like every week when Raw was happening, it would basically be people fearful for what the continuation of that would be. And it really took for MVP to come back at the Rumble to kickstart Bobby Lashley. Obviously, he had the feud with, I believe it was Apollo Crews of the new version of the US title. Really cemented that, and it was a great design as well, looking on Bobby Lashley. And he took people that weren't doing anything, like Cedric and Shelton as well, and made something. Like in those times of the Thunderdome era, people remember obviously Tribal Chief being born, Drew's title run, and Hurt Business, and obviously with Bayley and Sasha Banks as well. Like that period that faction is loved for a lot of people, and the fact that it never really got its time to shine in front of fans is a shame. And it was pretty much, I mean, I don't know, I think Bobby Lashley's second run. I think the Hurt Business thing was its peak for him. He got a title run out with that. He'd got to be on WrestleMania opener with Drew. I think it was 37 opener as well. So he's done so much with that. And then after that, it was all just start, stop. Was meant to feuded with Brock, which was honestly a terrible trilogy. And I don't know why people actually look back on it fondly. It was terrible and it was utterly garbage. Was meant to feud with Bray at WrestleMania 39. Obviously, health issues got in the way for that, leading to Bray's sudden passing, and that was just a freak accident happening there. I remember when we were there and we saw him come out with the Andre the Battle Memorial Trophy, turned around for 2 seconds and walked back, and everybody was just so confused and puzzled. Went on to do the Pride, which was him and the Street Profits and B-Fab against the Final Testaments, obviously at 40 as well, and nobody really liked that. And the fact is, weren't Cedric and Shelton still going as the Hurt Business, and there was like a mini feud between them and Bobby, and it was all messed up. And I think it just hurts his pride in that he knew he had something that connected him with the fans. Fans always on social media were wanting to see the Hurt Business come back. They want to see the Hurt Business versus the Bloodline in a War Games. They wanted to see Cedric and Shelton against the Usos. They wanted to see all this clashing of what was the biggest two groups in WWE at that point, and it never happened. Now, obviously, Shelton and MVP are in AEW, and obviously Shelton's gear said the Hurt Syndicate. If Bobby comes in there, could they do this faction properly? Now, obviously, Cedric is still with WWE. He's resigned, so Cedric is not going to be a part of this. If anything, the Hurt Syndicate as a trios would be very beneficial. They could be a very dominating trios faction. And honestly, I would not be against, I've said Wrestle Dynasty is going to be Golden Lovers versus the Bucks for the AEW tag titles, right? That's fine there. But why not have more dominating threat with Bobby Lashley and Shelton just taking the tag titles off the Young Bucks and have that more dominating threat, taking down the little whiny EVPs. Like, there's so much you can do with these guys. I mean, Bobby Lashley's whole presence in wrestling is phenomenal. Like, you go back to obviously the WWE ECW days, the Battle of the Billionaires, going to Impact. He won the world title, the X Division, and the King of the Mountain title. Retired the King of the Mountain, had to drop the X Division, and he was a good world champion. Obviously, there was a Beatdown Clan in Impact Wrestling with MVP. The man is loved by a lot of people. Truly, like, I think a lot of people as well. I remember I talked to Mr. Amazing, how you said that Shelton Benjamin was one of the proper representations for African-American wrestlers at that point. And I think Bobby Lashley is in that field as well. A lot of people will idolize Bobby Lashley for giving them somebody else that they can look and see the image of themselves in. So I think it's more hurtful for that he knew he had such a popular group with, you know, a great amount of guys I imagine he got along with and had fun with, not giving their rightful dues. I mean, I don't think there would have been any harm bringing back the Hurt Business as a good face faction, especially when the Bloodline was so dominant at that point when Triple H took over, to have a wee mini feud there. Imagine if obviously the Hurt Business was still here and we got Hurt Business versus this new Bloodline with Jacob Fatu, the Wheels of Destiny, and Solo. It could have been a great way to make the current Bloodline feel new and actually threatening instead of just lackeys. Like, I think it's just a shame that, you know, time sadly didn't line up for the Hurt Business to actually get a proper shining in WWE.
Yeah. No, I mean, Soul, honestly, that is a good point. And I will play for a second devil's advocate here and say that perhaps the reason that Triple H didn't bring, reunite the faction was actually for Sean Ellis's comment using the Hurt Business is too old, where it is kind of true where Triple H was definitely favoring a lot of the younger stars with some exceptions. Whereas a lot of people, you know, in that faction, they were getting on a bit. So by putting Lashley with the Street Profits, who are a lot younger than anybody involved in the Hurt Business, then yeah, I guess that is spotlighting younger stars a bit. But I mean, I'm certainly not arguing Bobby Lashley's point that, you know, he wasn't Triple H's favorite.
All I'll say to that
clearly
is
wasn't.
All I would say to Triple H is just Shelton Benjamin on Dynamite, Leo Rush. Look how good he looked with that super kick. I mean, he may be old, but god damn, he can super kick.
He looked great. He really, really did. I'm going to be honest with you. I think them in AEW is going to be great. As long as they're booked properly and well, I think that's got a lot of potential. But something else which has a lot of potential is this weekend's Progress Wrestling event. And it will be live on Demand Progress Plus. Now, if you guys don't know what Demand Progress is, it is Progress Wrestling streaming service, but it also has events on it from Defy Wrestling, TNT Extreme Wrestling, and a variety of other promotions from around the globe, especially in the UK. It is a great, great deal. It's a great, great streaming platform, and it genuinely is super user-friendly as well. There's a feature on it where you can change the speed, because you guys know me and my ADHD brain, I love to watch things in 2x speed. Some people hate me for it, but that's the truth. I love to, and it's got those options on there. It's such a great streaming service. But for our viewers here at Wrestling Republic, we have an exclusive code for you guys, where if you use code What'sProgress1, you can get 50% off your first month on Demand Progress Plus, the home of Progress, Defy, and more. Definitely check it out, guys. And again, they have an event coming out. They've got an event which will be live this Sunday, which I'm going to be covering on WR News on Friday morning. So we'll talk more about that then. But before we do, we need to talk a little bit about Karrion Kross, because Karrion Kross had an interview with Chris Van Vliet this week, and in it, he revealed that the Final Testament was originally planned to be a militia cult group, but they decided that perhaps that might, be a bit too realistic to certain things in the world right now. So they pulled the plug on that. They were like, well, let's not do that. But instead, let's make it an MMA group. And at this point, Karrion Kross was like, what? And they abandoned that plan too, and they made it what it is right now. But we've lost connection with Carter again, apparently, but we've now got Carty Carnett, his long-lost cousin, in, because I wanted to ask him, should the Final Testament have been an MMA group? What do you think, Carty Carnett?
I thought I was going to be on the last topic, so I thought I was going to have lots of positive things to say about Bobby Lashley. Absolutely not. There is a reason why we watch MMA and we watch wrestling. I mean, it can work in Japan. It doesn't work. I mean, Shayna Baszler, Ronda Rousey, like how many times are we going to run these boring matches? This is American wrestling. We want to see American wrestling. If we wanted to watch MMA, we would put on Strikeforce, Bellator, Cage Warriors. We'd put on one of those things. But no, I mean, in all seriousness, I love Karrion Kross. I think he has a great mind for wrestling. But the MMA thing is a little bit of a cop-out. I mean, we don't know him. Like, we knew Kurt Angle from Olympic wrestling, and there's been other wrestlers who've come from other sports. Ronda with judo. Like, we know Karrion for being a wrestler. I think when he goes to the indies, he gets better, and I think Scarlett's a big part of his appeal. And I don't want to see no gloves and knee. Well, I need to see knee pads so the boys protect themselves. But you know what I mean? I don't need to see wrestling shoes in the WWE ring. I want to see some wrestling boots. Like, come on now. Like I mean, it's fun, like with Kurt Angle and Chad Gable and all that stuff. But like, let's be real. Where's Gable Stevenson right now? This is wrestling. We turn this on to watch wrestling. And I mean, in Japan, the product is a little more realistic. It's a little more choppy. It's a little more slappy. It's a little less ropey-dopey, and so that transition works a little better. But out here, I think, outside of Inoki, Boombaye here and there, I think this MMA guy in wrestling, we did it with Ken Shamrock. I think it's kind of done. I think Karrion needs to focus on shopping in the Hot Topic with his lovely girlfriend and putting some, finding some black T-shirts and stuff. I don't think he needs to be putting on the earmuffs anytime soon.
Do you know what, Carty, right? I actually agree with you in terms of I don't think MMA works. I don't think it works in WWE. I think it works brilliant for Bloodsport, for example. They've been having great success, but I think WWE's audience is just too different. We got quite a few comments here. We got one, which I actually do like, from Sean Ellis, saying they should have named them Revelation, the last chapter of the Bible, instead of the Final Testament. I actually do think that's a better name. I do agree with you there. Bobby Petito says, wow. DCX Warlord over on Twitch says, no yeet, and Karrion is the GOAT in my opinion. Wow. I mean, talking about that, Bobby Lashley actually said today in the same interview as we previously spoke about, or same signing, that Karrion Kross is one of the most underutilized talents right now in professional wrestling. So a lot of people are saying it.
100%. Like, have any of you seen his the White Rabbit gimmick in Lucha Underground?
Oh, that is awesome.
That is
brilliant.
Phenomenal. I want that back so much. I think with heels as well, that you have so many heels, even in WWE and AEW, that are all just brute force. I want to see a heel that's just sinister, quiet, and just manipulated, right?
Yeah.
Just the string master, a puppet master behind the scenes that influences other matches or wrestlers, and it's just so like a classy demonic figure. Like, not everyone has to.
And he does it so well. He does.
Like, why are we not doing the White Rabbit again? Like, that's my biggest thing. Like, if I would ask, like, for Karrion Kross, why are we not doing the White Rabbit? It's successful. People love it. It's a great look. Just why are we not doing that? Why does it, the Final Testament, does have to be, we are evil, emo, Bible thingy majiggies, woo, woo, with AOP, with one wearing a Daft Punk mask? I mean, come on.
The thing is, I think the Final Testament could work, but I've said it already. This Wyatt 6 feud is going to be make or break for them, right? If they can't work in this environment where they can do tons of vignettes in a feud with the Wyatt, then yeah, they're done for. But now let's move on because we need to preview Soul's favorite show of the week, AEW Dynamite. And I do have the card here. And guess what? I made sure to get it up in the last segment this time. So when my browser crashed earlier on in the show, like it always does, I still have it up. So here is the announce card for tonight. AEW have issued a warning because AEW World Champion Jon Moxley will be there in person. We will have a ladder war match for the Ring of Honor World Championship as Mark Briscoe defends the Ring of Honor Championship against Chris Jericho. The Young Bucks will team up with Jack Perry to take on Daniel Garcia and Private Party. Samu Guevara will be taking on Shelton Benjamin. Yes, please, I will have a slice of that match. And we got Camille versus Queen Amanita before Camille's match against Chris Statlander next week. And we've also got a return of the House of Black. All three members will be in action together. Plus, Huck is going to confront Taz's attacker. That's going to be interesting. Plus, Kyle Fletcher is going to talk as well. Cardi Carnett, I'm going to pass this to you first, right? What's your thoughts on this card, and what are you excited for the most?
It's right. I mean, there's no hologram versus Mortos, so I'll take what I can get. That is the match of the year every time it's on. No, that's a great card. I'm excited for that. I mean, that women's match, Queen Aminata. Sorry, I'm not going to say that right, but she is amazing. And Brickhouse, that's a great match. And Guevara, I mean, to say you booked Sammy Guevara well, that's a pretty big deal. That's not easy to do. And look at you, Mr. Tony. You're starting to book like my old buddy, Mr. Ole Anderson. No, I think this is a rock solid card. You got everything. You got Hook defending his father's honor. I think AEW's been great lately. It's where that might have been from my cousin. I don't know if I said that, but they're booking well enough. I would say they're booking good enough. And I mean, the last pay-per-view, it was fun. It was suitable. It was sustainable. You got the Mox as the champ. Now I think they should spread the titles out to Lashley and Shelton and get all the big boys who can really fight, who can really like throw down back in the locker room, get them some titles, like spread these things around. But no, I think AEW, surprisingly, coming from me, is headed in the right direction regarding the booking. I like this show.
Oh, I actually think you're being too nice for once about them. No, I'm joking. I think this show does look very fun indeed. Sean Ellis says, "Who cares? I care. I actually do. I'm excited for a few things on this card. I am. It can be interesting to see what they do. Not overly stacked, but a lot of times in wrestling, the not overly stacked shows end up being the better ones because there is, a few bits of gold in there." DCX Warlord says Scott D'Amore is better than Tony Khan. I mean, to be fair, I think a lot of people would actually make that argument legitimately. Bobby Petito says he's interested to see who goes against John Mox at AEW Full Gear. I still think it's going to be Mr. Orange Cassidy. But Bobby also says it's awesome to see Queen Aminata getting more AEW TV time, and he would like to see her win the AEW TBS or New Japan Strong Women's Championship from the CEO, Mercedes Moné. Yoden says Sammy Guevara should stay in Ring of Honor. I still don't understand this Sammy Guevara hate. I really, really don't. Sean Ellis said it would be like the old TNA. Oh, is he saying this is like the old TNA Impact? Don't insult TNA Impact too. At times that had some good moments. But Soul, I want to get your thoughts on this card and what you're most excited for.
I got to quickly ask, Allison, as the graphic guy, how cool is that Warning Mox is here graphic that AEW done? It's not even like a match now. It's just basically all barbed wire and warning. I mean, you're a graphic guy. Do you like it?
It's amazing, and I know the designer who's done that, and it is absolutely brilliant. I love it. My only question is why are you putting a warning out that your world champion is going to be there when he represents your company? But I will ignore that.
Have you seen him backstage just attacking people? It's just a bit of a warning there if he is going on the road and attacking your fellow comrades. But nonetheless, the ladder war with Briscoe and Jericho, I kind of hope this writes Jericho off TV, but I feel like we've been saying that for months, so it's probably not going to happen. But nonetheless, I think it will be an exciting match. Just don't have Jericho win. Trios match, I think it's going to be fun. I like it's continuing the story of obviously it's going to be building Jack Perry and Garcia. Private Party are still there, feuding with the Bucks. I think it's a good continuation because a lot of people loved that match they had at Wrestle Dream. Sammy and Shelton, obviously Sammy has said how much he loves Shelton. There's an iconic picture of Sammy with Shelton when he was younger, so this is going to be a dream match for him. Proud of him to get that. Queen Aminata versus Camille, going to be a great showcase, obviously building Camille's match against Chris Statlander next week at Fright Night Dynamite. Three things here, obviously, I think it's going to be very interesting. House of Black in action. I wonder if this is building something really big for House of Black going into Full Gear. With what and who? Maybe Top Flight, or maybe it's going to be teasing Julia Hart's return. That'll be interesting. Kyle Fletcher, I think that's probably going to recap Konosuke's time at Maple Leaf. Obviously, he faced Speedball, defeated him. He faced Josh Alexander, defeated him, and Ricochet came out after that match. So maybe a continuation of that, or maybe Cal Fletcher's going to be like, I'm going to go in the Continental Classic. That'd be cool. Hook, addressing who attacked Taz. I've got two people in mind for this. One is Christian Cage, because we know Christian Cage's relationship with Favre's is pretty well known. But I think it'd be more interesting if it was Ricky Starks. Now, imagine this, right? Ricky attacks Taz because he blames Taz for making him too complacent. You know, he made him FTW. He got to become a FTW champion. He held that belt, and maybe made him feel a bit weak and maybe a bit ego-driven, or made him just complacent with how his thing was. Obviously, Hook was the one to take that title off him, and then maybe Ricky's run hasn't been as great, and he blames Hook for it. So maybe it could be that. Obviously, a callback to Team Taz as well. And it'd be a little fun feud, obviously, with Hook and Ricky. And if Ricky ain't going to stay with the company, use that to build Hook up. But nonetheless, I think it's going to be a very fun episode of Dynamite. I'm very interested to obviously see where Mox is going to go with this. Nonetheless, fun card. I'm sure everyone will enjoy it tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope you are right there, Sol. We got a comment here. We got two comments here which are interesting about it. Yodon says, Hawk did it. Imagine if he did to his own father. I mean, no, to be honest with you, I think it's either going to be Hawk or it's going to be Samoa Joe. I do think Samoa Joe is probably the most likely one. Sean Ellis is asking, is Kenny Omega done with wrestling? No, it's confirmed by Kota Ibushi that he's going to be back in the next 2 to 3 months. D6 Warlord says, what about Will Hobbs being the guy? Yeah, that would make a lot of sense as well, no doubt about it. Sean Ellis is saying as well about why Moxley, they give the warnings because he's a nutcase. Obviously, I get it from that perspective, but at the same time, then, people ask, why don't you strip him of the title? But I mean, it's like Adam Pearce is booking this over on Raw, where he just books everything for chaos. He loves chaos. The plan for the show is out the window in the first 2 minutes of it. But that does bring us to the end of the show today, guys. If you did enjoy them, please check us out again tomorrow, same time, same place, where we will be reviewing this show. We'll be reviewing AEW Dynamite. Thank you to Sol. Thank you to Carty for joining me here today. And we will see you guys tomorrow. Have a great night. Ba 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 ba.